History. They say that those that don't learn from it are doomed to repeat it. Yet it has been found that perhaps a majority of high school students and even many college students can't even tell you which countries fought in World War II or for which sides. At the same time, it can be a fascinating study since it often surprises us how things came about. We have all listened to the band play On Wisconsin at a Badger game. Did you know the origins of that song came in the Civil War during the Battle of Missionary Ridge? If you have ever gone through Chattanooga on the way to Florida, you may have been tempted to follow the many signs to see Ruby Falls, which is a tourist trap partway up Lookout Mountain. If you drive all the way up this very steep 2,300-foot mountain, you will find an impressive park dedicated to the battles that took place there. It overlooks the city of Chattanooga perfectly. You can see the city, the river, the railroads, much as they appeared during the Civil War. The Confederate troops stationed on top of the mountain could see the thousands of Union soldiers as they got off their trains coming to attack them. When I was there, I wondered how on earth anyone would be able to scale that steep mountain and defeat the Confederate soldiers, especially with their artillery high above their army. On that mountain is an area known as Missionary Ridge. The Battle of Missionary Ridge was just one part of the Battle of Chattanooga. The rebels had a strong defensive position on that ridge, and General Grant was of the opinion that it could not be taken. One of the Union forces attacking Missionary Ridge was the 24th Wisconsin Volunteer Infantry Regiment. An 18-year-old junior officer in the 24th was Arthur MacArthur from Milwaukee, son of the 4th governor of Wisconsin. He got his officer commission because of his family ties, much like many others at that time, not from any special military training. The 24th was made up of volunteers from the Milwaukee area where they also trained. Another 70,000 troops from other Wisconsin volunteer regiments were trained at Camp Randall in Madison, in the area where the university now stands, and is now Camp Randall Stadium, of course. The regimental colors were what led the men into battle. There's always much confusion as to what happened during the heat of the battle. You may not know if your side is winning or losing, or if you are being separated from the rest of your men. When the men could see their flag waving, it was a good sign. It served as an anchor to their lines and gave them confidence. The men tried to keep their flag in sight because it led them during attacks. It was a great honor, but also a bit of a death warrant to be carrying the colors, since the enemy tried to take the color bearer out for obvious reasons. During the attack on Missionary Ridge, at a decisive time, the color bearer fell, and the attack began to falter. Young Arthur saw what had happened and picked up the colors of the 24th Wisconsin Regiment and charged ahead shouting, "Who can tell me?" Yep. I'm glad somebody answered. The 24th Wisconsin rallied and took that ridge, followed by 50,000 Union troops. The combination of all those troops ended up taking the entire battle. Arthur was wounded twice, but planted that flag in the middle of the rebels' fortifications. He won the Medal of Honor for his bravery in this battle, which became a key turning point in the Civil War. It also got him promoted to full colonel at the age of 19, without any training. You know, a colonel is just south of a general, so. He became known across the nation as a boy colonel. We can all cheer for the glories of men like this in battle, but did you know that more Americans died during the Civil War than we lost in all of World War II? 750,000 died, which is 2.5% of our country's entire population. If that percentage died in a war today, it would be over 7 million. There is no real glory in war, only death on both sides. During World War II, 70 to 85 million people died worldwide, which was 3% of the entire world population. Some countries lost 25% of their population, and think how many more were wounded. That is why learning history is so important, so we never let the conditions that led to war before happen again. The attack on our U.S. Capitol last January was a warning sign. Our country is too divided politically. The last time it happened to such a degree, we had the Civil War. We must learn to compromise again. But it is probably against human nature. Jesus said in the book of Matthew, up until the end of time, there will be wars and rumors of wars. Back to Arthur. He became a lieutenant general in his long career in the Army. He served with major roles in the Philippines and in Japan and lived in both places. He was father to Douglas MacArthur, who became one of the few five-star generals in World War II. Douglas was raised in the Philippine Islands while his father was stationed there as military governor, and he knew the Philippine people as his friends. He served under his father in Japan as his aide in the early 1900s and learned much about the Japanese way of life. Douglas MacArthur actually went to West Point, and he was trained. Because of his past experience, Douglas was put in charge of the U.S. Army forces in the Far East, and when the Japanese attacked the Philippines at the start of the war, he fought a brilliant rearguard action as the undermanned and ill-equipped American force was slowly pushed off the island, earning him the Medal of Honor for his service, and making him and his father the first to both have that distinction. Due to his upbringing prior to the war in Japan, he was also one of the small handful of Americans familiar with the Japanese. He became military governor of Japan after the war, and instead of punishing them for their actions, except for a few notorious war criminals, guided them into becoming, from being a starving and destroyed country, into becoming the prosperous nation that it is today. And when I printed out my pages last night, I forgot the last page. But anyway, it was a short part. You owe a lot to these people, not just to those generals. They were the famous people. It's easier to get a Medal of Honor if you're a general. The ones who really served us the most were the ones who died in battle. And we remember them today. Thank you.